Hello, my neighbor. I just want to hang out. Let's talk about what is the Sixth Amendment of the United States Constitution. All right. So this one's going to be fun because we're just going to talk about the Bill of Rights right now because there's a case that's getting ready to hop off onto the Supreme Court and they're going to be talking about the Sixth Amendment. So we thought we should talk about the Sixth Amendment too because it's fun and this is what we like to do. We like to teach. All right. So check out this scene right here. Okay. Here goes the scene. Imagine that you're in this scene right now. Okay, my neighbor? You are one of the people with all political power. You are concealed carrying arms in California to protect yourself. Karen sees your arms in the public park. Karen freaks out. Karen calls the police. The police arrest you and charge you with violating state legislative codes. Game on. Okay. So this is the scene that you're in right now, neighbor. So you have to imagine this is you, or it could be me, or it could be any one of our neighbors right now who's just walking through the park, doing their own thing, minding their own business, trying to protect their life, their body. Okay. And then Karen sees you. Karen freaks out. Karen does what Karen does. Karen calls the police and they say, "Oh no, I'm scared. Come get this man." Right. And then they come get you and then they carry you off. All right. So you have to know what your Sixth Amendment right is because they're going to charge you in the legislative code with a criminal charge. All right. So you want to see what in your Bill of Rights, you want to go look at your Bill of Rights and you want to see what it says for the for your Sixth Amendment right here. Okay. So check this out. We're going to read the Sixth Amendment Bill of Rights right now. Look at what it says. It says, in all criminal prosecutions, the accused shall enjoy the right to a speedy and public trial by an impartial jury of the state and district wherein the crime shall have been committed, which district shall have been previously ascertained by law, and to be informed of the nature and cause of the accusation, to be confronted with the witnesses against him, Karen, to have compulsory process for obtaining witnesses in his favor, and to have the assistance of counsel for his defense. All right. So you get to have access to counsel. That's what they would call an attorney. Okay. So if you walk this one through real simple, the Bill of Rights, Sixth Amendment right here, it says in all criminal prosecutions. So they're trying to use legislative code to charge you with the crime. Okay. It says the accused, that means you who would be carrying the arm, shall enjoy the right to a speedy and public trial. That means you take it to the court. Okay. So you want to examine the facts at hand. You want to look at the evidence. Okay, my neighbor, by an impartial jury of the state and district. So you always want to go to court. And when you go to court, you want to have a jury of your peers so you can show them the evidence, right? So you want to show your neighbors who are the jury, the evidence. And you want to say, "Hey, Jerry, what's going on? I was just hanging out in the park, walking around, doing my thing, minding my own business. And, the police were called on me because somebody saw my arms, right? They got scared of my arms, right? So I was like, oh, what did I do? So then they carried me off and then they charged me with the legislative law, right? They charged me with a state legislative code saying that I was breaking legislative code. And I was like, but I'm one of the people with all political power. How can I be breaking my creature's law? I created you. How am I breaking the law? Right? So this is what you would do in front of the jury, right? And then let's keep walking it out. And then you're going to be able to examine the law. You want to examine the law and you can say, well, this is what the Constitution says. This is what it says that I am. I'm one of the people with all political power. I have the right to life, liberty, and property. I can protect myself. And then the federal Constitution says I have the right to bear arms and it shall not be infringed. How are you using legislative code to charge me with the crime? Right? So this is what you should be asking. Okay. And then you get the right to, what else does it say? You want to know what they're causing you for, what they're accusing you for. Okay. It says, and to be informed of the nature and cause of the accusation. Why are you charging me? What law did I break? Show me the law that I broke, right? Please show me, okay? And then it says to be confronted with the witnesses against him. That means that you get to talk to Karen you get to examine Karen, right? Because if Karen was shook and if Karen was scared, then you put Karen up on there and you examine her and you ask her questions, right? You ask her very simple questions and then you see what she says and you ask her these questions in front of the jury. So then that way the jury will be able to see how she answers and how she response. Okay. And then what else does it say? Then you can get other witnesses and things like that. For your favor, right? So if you need people to back you up, and it says that, this is what the Constitution says, this is what the Second Amendment says, this is what you are, right? If you need a doctor to say that you're a living man or you're a living woman, you can do that too, because that's fun, right? Because his body is alive. And to have the assistance of counsel for his defense. So you can have an attorney sit next to you talking, telling you things and stuff like that. But you can get up there as one of the people with all political power, as one of the jurors, right? Because we know the law, because we created the law, right? You can ask the questions to the people who are trying to accuse you of the crime, right? So you can present and you can confront them, right? And the attorney can be sitting down and then they can talk to you and tell you things. They could say, yeah, that's a good move or that's not a good move. Or if you want, because this is what a lot of people do, a lot of people use attorneys to represent them. And I mean, you can do that, but then you'll be banking on that attorney is going to be defending you. Okay. And with everything that they got. All right. So that's the Sixth Amendment right there. Okay. So we're done. We just wanted to walk that one out really quick. So here we go. Let me know how you would defend your life, my neighbor. This is what I want to know. I want to know, how would you defend yourself if you were put in this situation and you had to use the Sixth Amendment, right? So then that way you could set up your case. All right. Let me know how you would defend your life. Okay, my neighbor? All right, we're done. I just wanted to talk about that bit right there because, it's back to school time, right? We're going to see these court cases in the Supreme Court roll out, and we want to see how tight my neighbors are with the law, okay? Now you know what the Sixth Amendment is, and I just want to know, how would you defend your life? Okay, my neighbor? All right, we're done. I'll talk to you in the future. Remember, nobody's having more fun than us. Bye.